Dune is fabricated as an immersive exploration of power struggles and social control, which articulates a profound, transcendental inner experience of a diegesis that concentrates around ferocious imperial tribulations and callous deliverance. A portrait that still resonates with political cynicism, savior mythology, to ecological catastrophism. Set in the year 10,191, with Denis Villeneuve's screenplay establishing that humans have abandoned Earth, mankind now embrace the spiritual connection with nature and endure throughout a collection of colonized planets, the last artifacts of existence. The eloquent chronicle initiates on Caladan, a luscious ocean planet where the protagonist, Paul Atreides, matured, primed with unprecedented power and destined to follow his father, Duke Leto Atreides, to Arrakis, a desolate planet known by its native settlers, the Fremen, as Dune, the only natural source of the vitally essential spice, melange, a spectrum narcotic that prolongs prescience in youth by fortifying over health levels. As House Atreides ensconce themselves into their new domestic establishment, Arrakeen, following the orders of Padishah Emperor Shaddam IV, the leader of the Empire, who has the sovereignty and possesses monopoly over the series of colonized planets in this universe. Shaddam's assignment is fundamentally a devious stratagem, as the Emperor is threatened by House Atreides and is deceiving the Endeavor to conspire and disguise his assault with House Harkonnen to annihilate the House Atreides. While the Atreides are cognizant of possible deceit, to escape the deed is insurmountable. Consequently, the fabrication of the film is the conflict that manifests following the incursion of House Atreides and the legacy that Paul inherits. And through the film's idiosyncratic but immaculate form, Denis Villeneuve lays the narrative with complex characters and environments. The Bene Gesserit is a prominent sisterhood who foster genetic experimentation, galactic political interference, and religious engineering to further their own agenda of ascending the human race. Bene Gesserit are also able to read thoughts by percipiently discerning the body language and emotions rendered by others. They also resort to the voice, which enables them to stimulate temperaments or conceptions in another person. While Duke Leto never marries, he is unfeignedly faithful to his concubine Lady Jessica, a Bene Gesserit and mother to the royal son Paul. Jessica has nurtured Paul to be trained in Bene Gesserit disciplines, albeit he is a male. Intrinsically, Lady Jessica was never even supposed to birth Paul, as her orders from the sisterhood was to only birth a daughter, and she defied this by granting her love Leto an heir. Paul acquires a variety of abilities and skills. He's not only trained by his mother, but also by his father, who mentored young Paul on statesmanship and imperial politics. Elite soldiers Duncan Idaho and Gurney Halleck made Paul a master of warfare and combat. Further, Paul has been educated in political strategies to mirror the cognitive and analytic abilities of computers by Mentat Thufirhawat. After the Harkonnen forces depose House Atreides and assassinate Duke Leto, Paul and Jessica contrive to escape to the desert while their adversaries conjecture that they have met their demise. The two find a new home with the Fremen, who are quartered in the obscured expanse of the desert. Here, Paul perceives that he is inherently the Kwisatz Haderach, the ultimate objective of the Bene Gesserit breeding plan. As the son of Bene Gesserit, who has been exposed to high concentrations of melange, Paul begins to fathom that he can see the future through visions. This ability symbolizes that Paul fulfills a Fremen legend and is conferred the title of a messiah among their people, and through his vision, we deduce Paul as the Muad'Dib, leading the Fremen force against the Harkonnen and Sarkadar armies that recuperate the planet's control, bestowing Paul the power over the Empire, accomplishing his purpose but also committing the Fremen to a new religion and inaugurating a new religious order that results in jihad across the new empire of Muad'Dib. This profoundly intricate story is only adapted from the first of 6 novels that narrate the legacy of Muad'Dib, yet it delves intensely into the themes of religion and environmentalism. The setting of Dune consistently emphasizes the importance of water by instituting many technologies and rituals that all relate to the lack of water on the planet. From still suits that redistribute water lost from the skin back into the body to taking the water of the dead, Fremen are fostered in practices of strict water discipline. Paul's importance exists in the Fremen environment as the belief that he is to implement the plan to build a new ecosystem on Dune that the recently deceased Fremen leader had prophesied. Paul encourages this, illuminating his followers the prophecy of open water existing on Dune. To Fremen, this is a staggering possibility, especially since they believe Paul to be omniscient. These characteristics feed into what becomes the new Fremen religion, as Paul fulfills the role of Messiah through his prescient abilities and is victorious in taking back control of Dune. This role of religious significance wherein a political leader is also deemed morally and spiritually exalted ignites an overwhelming sense of power in one being, and Paul recognizes the vulnerability in this position, but in consummation serves this path in order to achieve his political agenda. Religion accords a path to supremacy like no other. The moral and spiritual incentives of religion embolden a blinding allegiance to follow orders unquestionably. It is because Paul exercises religion that he ascends to the emperor of this universe. Throughout history, humans have instigated bloodshed, death, and barbarity in the name of religion that is paradoxically embedded in spirituality and moral guidance. Unlike many science fiction writers of his time, Frank Herbert did not believe that religion was a redundant foundation, but instead one that would continue to hold inconceivable authority over humanity, and religion continues to have persistent influences on the law and one's principles. The Resurrection of Dune demonstrates the compelling analysis Herbert concocted of humanity 56 years ago. Films and novels like Dune persevere in popular culture because people can still relate to them. While we label such pieces of work, literature, and fiction, it is imperative to reflect on their morals. We do not yet exist on a series of planets or have access to youth-granting spices, but we do comply with systems that manipulate us in reverence of religion. So, the philosophy of religion is always entrenched in faith, and when faith is preached, one acts in accordance with believing in something despite a lack of evidence supporting it. This is why politics and religion are destined to always be intertwined. If one solemnly and indubitably believes that one way of life is morally and spiritually superior, no logic will change that. Certainly, there exist those who concentrate more on balance between faith and science, but the lesson of great consequence is that where religion prevails, there will always be those who are beguiled by the overwhelming fidelity of faith, and those who perpetrate hostilities in the name of salvation. Dune illustrates the aforementioned, emphasizing that faith cannot be contained to one branch of life. Religion, environmentalism, and politics cannot be separated in our world. Finite resources and the breadth of humanity both rely on these entities and can, for eternity, be obliterated by them.